So Brian,
Yes.
as an African living in Bangkok, have you ever experienced racial discrimination? And this was in a major newspaper
Major
in Bangkok.
English newspaper in Bangkok, yes.
Okay.
When you look through the comments, you see what they're talking about Africans. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous.
They've touched your hair.
They wanted to, then I just grabbed their arm midway. I'm like, no, me die.
Hey folks, Pete here from Thairish Times. You've read the title. You know that we have a very serious topic to talk about today. We're going to interview Bryan about racism in Thailand. So this video is going to be obviously super serious. The next video after this is going to be the complete opposite. It's going to be very light-hearted to give a bit of variety here on Thairish Times. So without further ado, let's meet Bryan. And before we do that, let me just say, if you like the content, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below. I'm sure people are going to agree or disagree with what Bryan has to say. By all means, leave your comment down below. And yeah, let's go meet Bryan. Bryan,
Pete,
thank you very much for doing this.
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So, I'm on the hot seat tonight.
You're in the hot seat with Pete, as they say.
Wear my gloves again. It's gonna be hot tonight, I think.
So you're probably wondering why we're laughing, because you've probably read the title and it's a pretty serious topic. But Bryan is a friend of mine. We know each other now for about a year, yeah?
More than a year, I think.
More than a year.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, and you're a funny guy. You always make me smile. But we're going to try and leave
Now
the
this
smiles.
is me blushing.
We're going to move the smiles aside because we're going to get into some heavy stuff. So let's start with the easy questions first. Tell everybody where you're from.
So my name is Bryan. I come from Kenya in Africa. I've lived in Thailand for almost 4 years now. I came here in October of 2018.
And what do you do over here? What brought you over to Thailand?
Basically work. I work part-time. My wife works full-time. So let me just say I came here to follow my wife, pretty much. But my background is in IT, information technology. Okay. So I can easily work from the house or anywhere in the world.
So you've been here 4 years. Do you enjoy living here in Bangkok?
I love living in Bangkok. I have 2 kids here. They go to school here. One of them has medical issues. So us living in Bangkok with a very good worldwide healthcare offered in Bangkok is very good for us.
So Bryan,
Yes.
as an African living in Bangkok, have you ever experienced racial discrimination?
This is a very interesting story. Can I toss the question back to you?
Of course. Go on.
Pete,
I like your style. I like your style.
as an Irish guy
Yeah.
living in Thailand,
Okay.
have you ever experienced racism?
It's a very hard question to answer. I have experienced feeling different because I'm a foreigner. Now, I don't know if that classes as racism,
Xenophobic, maybe?
xenophobic,
Yes.
discrimination. It's never been so bad. But the reason we're doing this interview today is because for black people, I consider it to be worse. I
It is
consider
worse.
racism to be worse.
It is us. That's why I tossed the question back to you.
Okay.
Because most of the time, generally the white people don't really feel the racism meted towards them. So every time the term race is used, it's 95% of the time, it's focused towards the black people, right? That's why you asked me, have I ever encountered racism? Yes, I have. Not as bad. I think the main reason of it is I live in a good part of town. But I have experienced some form of racial prejudice before myself. And some of my friends have experienced worse treatment of racism, unfortunately.
Okay, can you tell us what happened?
Okay, I will give you a couple of instances. There's one time I was in the train, not too long ago, last month in December. I was in the MRT coming back to downtown Bangkok from the western part of Bangkok. I was in the train. People refused to sit next to me because during that time, that was when the Omicron cases were coming up, and countries all over the world were saying, if you're coming from 8 countries of Southern Africa, they basically closed their borders towards 8 nationalities from Africa. The Thai government went as far ahead as saying the 8 countries were banned from coming into Africa, But the rest of the African countries had to quarantine for 14 extra days in quarantine. So I think it was also made worse one time with one of the local dailies when they wrote, "The government is hunting for Africans." So this was during that period. I was sitting in the train. People chose to stand as compared to sitting next to me because obviously I am black. I look different. I am African. I'm very proud of that fact. People refuse to sit next to me because when you go back to listen to what the government is telling you, what you've read on the newspaper is that the government is hunting for Africans who probably ran off the quarantine. So maybe he could be an Omicron carrier, you know? And people didn't have a lot more information back then. So they look at a black person in the middle of the train, no one sat next to me. I was like, okay, fine. More space for me to sit on the train, you know? You also remember during this particular Omicron issue time, right? You go on to when they were writing about the newspaper title, when they wrote the government is hunting for African visitors. Had you gone to the comment section, you'd have seen all the hate spewed towards black people. I read some of them.
Were these from Thai people?
Some of them were Thai names, others were very Caucasian names. But then again, it's a comment section, so people just come up with like pseudonyms. So you can't really tell who was who.
And this was in a major newspaper
major
in Bangkok?
English newspaper in Bangkok, yes.
Okay.
When you look through the comments, you see what they're talking about Africans. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous. Like, I remember one of them mentioned, oh, it's so easy to find these black people. Why is it that the government needs to hunt them down? Just go to the Nana, Soy 5, Soy 3, they're all there. All their women are there, acting as prostitutes. Just go to Nana, you'll find all of them there. Another comment was like, oh, yeah, it's about time. We need to hunt down some black people. When you read through the comments, oh.
How did you feel when you read those comments?
Ashamed, disgusted. I was in the 21st century, really? People are still treating other people of a different race, different to their own, with such disgust. I was appalled, honestly. Also, in one of the comments, someone had written, why are the black people getting so much coverage? I mean, God gave them pubic hair on their head. Someone wrote such a comment.
Thai person or foreigner?
I don't know. You know, if it could be a foreigner hiding under a Thai name, because anyone can create an account to comment on the newspapers. You can definitely use a fake name, but the hate generated from those comments, Pete, even you would be disgusted.
Yeah, I remember you speaking about it before. I remember it really upset you. Yeah, I remember that.
There's some places you go, the kids are very curious to see you because you being a black person, and I'm talking about me, right? In the third person, not you. So kids will come, he can never be black. No.
I'm as white as can be. Pale as a ghost. Go on, finish.
You disappear in the snow. So kids will come running up to you. They're like, oh, damn. Then they want to feel your skin. I usually let the kids feel my skin if they want. I even let them, give them a bonus. Oh yeah, feel the hair. It's also nice and cool, you know, nice and puffy, so cottony. Even my kids are playing with my hair. Yeah. But if it's an adult trying to do that to me, and they have not asked me if they can go ahead and do it, we'll have a problem.
Has that happened?
Yes,
have anyone?
it has.
They've touched your hair.
They wanted to, then I just grabbed their arm midway. I'm like, no, me die. I wouldn't come up to you and touch your hair, Pete, would I? That's rude. At least have have the courtesy of saying, hi, how are you? My name is Pete. Can I touch your hair, you know?
You mean someone who didn't even know you,
Nope.
didn't speak to you, came up and tried to touch your hair?
Yeah, to see if it's real.
So is that the only thing that's ever happened?
No. There's a time I was walking somewhere in town, near the Central World. Someone they held their nose, because there's this general perception that black people stink. I once had that term. I didn't take it very lightly. Who would just look at you because you're black? People assume that you stink, you know. you're passing somewhere very confidently, comfortably, you're walking around, someone just holds their nose towards you and looks away. It's like you're a stink bomb coming towards their way, It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
And what about your friends? Because I know you're close with the African community here in Bangkok. Have they ever experienced racism?
Mostly for the people who live outside of Bangkok, towards the, how can I put it, towards the villages. Some people like making fun of them. Some people want to take photos of them without even asking for permission. They've just seen a black person, they're like, okay, let me take a photo of you, this person. Maybe to show their friends that they've run into a black person, I don't know. But someone has also wanted to take a photo of me and they got mad at them. Because I would not, in my own sense, come to you, Pete, get my phone out and to take a photo of you without asking for your permission. First of all, why do you even want my photo, If you want to take a selfie, come, be nice about it. Say, hey, can I take a photo with you? But if you just want to come in front of my face, you want to take a picture of me? No.
But could it be that they want to take a photo just because they've never seen a black person before, not necessarily racist, but just like, oh, this is so unusual, here we are in the suburbs of Bangkok?
That's the difference. So the people who will want to take photos of you will take a photo of you, whether you're looking or not, then start giggling about it. So definitely when you look at them, they're taking a photo for a reason. Not just for their curiosity that they saw a black person, no.
And has anyone ever made any remarks to you?
To me directly, no. Maybe because I don't understand Thai.
What about your friends?
My friends have had it worse. I've had horror stories. I can't say most of it on your channel here, but they've had it worse. Some people have even been told to go back to their own countries, that they don't belong here. I have a friend who has a master's here. She works here in Bangkok. She has a master's. But before she got her current job, she kept on trying to look for jobs. She would always be told, I'm sorry, yes, you're qualified, but we cannot employ you. Why not? Because you're black, and the parents don't want a black teacher teaching their kids. She told me that, then I remembered, I think I once had this conversation with you off camera. There's one time I was having a pint on Soy 11. I met this guy from the UK. So of course we were chatting, asking each other what you're doing here in Thailand and all that. So he told me, I told him what I do, then I asked him what he does. He told me he's a teacher, he's been here. At that time, he had been here for the last 4 years. And he had initially come here as a tourist. Then one time when he was just walking around, he came across an agent who asked him, are you working here or are you a tourist? So the guy told him, I'm a tourist. Then the agent asked him, would you want to work here? The guy definitely told him, of course I'd like to work here, but at the moment I cannot because I'm on a tourist visa. I don't have a degree. I only have a high school diploma. Then the guy told him, you're white, you're from the UK, that's all the qualification you need. And yet, on the other spectrum, you look at people from Africa. They have degrees, they have master's degrees, right? But they cannot get employment because every time they go to a school to look for employment, they're told, I'm sorry, the parents will not allow for us to have a black teacher. So most of the time they end up getting schools in the villages or public schools. But when you look at the international schools, very few international schools here in Bangkok have black teachers. I'm sure you might have noticed that as well.
Yeah, I do know that parents and teachers in some schools will not hire black people. I have had friends that has happened to. I remember my first time being in Thailand and being told about this when I was getting trained to be a teacher, and it was shocking, That leads me on to my next question. Is it an obsession with white skin, or is it a kind of anti-African, anti-black racism?
I think a little bit of both. It is an obsession with white skin. Everywhere you go, you will come across whitening creams being sold all over the world. And in this part of the world, I've noticed there is usually a saying says, the whiter you are, the more prettier you are. So even when you look at all the billboards, all the models, they have like extra white skin as compared to the darker skinned people. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to say people are negative or biased towards the black people, because I've also noticed and I've also been told most people from the northern part of the country look down upon people from the southern part of the country because they have a darker skin.
It's not just racism against black people. I mean, there's discrimination within Thailand itself, you know, between, I mean, many different parts. It's a very deep cultural thing. It's not just Thailand, it's all of Asia.
Sadly true.
Yeah, it's a very complex thing to kind of explain, but
yeah,
there is discrimination here in Thailand as well between Thais and Thais, not just Thais and foreigners.
Yeah. So there's another time I was going to a club. It's on Soy 23, Sukhumvit. So this guy, the doorman, asked us, "Where are you from? Show me your passports." I was with a friend of mine, a guy. So we told the doorman, "We are from home." Then this doorman told us, "Then go back home. You're not coming in here without showing us your passport." So
you said you're from home.
Yes,
because you said go back home.
He wanted us to show him our passports, to know where we were from, because we realize, I'm black, of course, I know these things. There's a very huge, how can I put this, disconnect between people from this part of the world and a country on the western coast of Africa. Because they tend to assume if you're coming from that country, you must be a drug dealer. You must be after their women. Like, there's a lot of bad negativity towards that particular country. So my friend and I already knew this guy wanted to assume we were coming from that country, so we did not want to give him the pleasure, right? Then again, why would a doorman want to see my passport? That's the work of an immigration officer. So we decided to go to a different club as compared to
the country that you mentioned that the doorman thought you were from. Would it be fair to say that people are nervous of people from that country because there are a lot of drug dealers from that country here in Thailand?
That's the thing. And how can I put this? Even if there could be drug dealers from that country, there are also good people from that country. I've met people from that country who are doing their PhDs in Thailand. They're definitely not dealing in drugs or these clandestine activities. There are good people. And I've also been told people think that black people look very aggressive. You know, I don't look aggressive. I'm a cuddly little tiger. We don't all belong in that boat of looking all scary and, you know, cruel.
Since you got here in 2018 to now, have you seen any changes? Because with the Black Lives Matter movement, I saw a lot of Thai people really focus on this. A lot of Thai teenagers were very into this. They were following the content online and they were well aware of what was going on in America. And that was the first time ever that I was really taken back and being like, wow, I can see a difference with the younger generation of Thai people. I think they're more open-minded.
They are more open-minded. Like when I told you I was on the train coming back to downtown and one sat next to me, I think about 4 stops before we got to downtown Bangkok, there was one person who came and sat next to me. It was a younger lady, of course. But the people who seemed to be 35 and above, no one sat next to me. But definitely the younger people have more liking towards the black people.
So let's ask another question. In Africa, is there racism within Africa, maybe between different groups of Africans, or maybe even discrimination between one nationality and another nationality?
Yes, we have a big problem with tribalism. If I step out of Africa, out of Kenya, I look at Africa, there are some countries the Kenyans would not agree with. I'm not going to mention any country by name, but of course there's that feeling of being different. Those people they won't really get along with people from my country, so let me just do my best to keep away from them. It's not really good.
How do you feel about dual pricing at national parks and museums?
I won't have a lot to say about it because in my own country we also have dual pricing.
Oh, really?
But the rates are not as high as there are in Thailand. For example, if I were to go to a national park in my country, I'll pay the equivalent of 50 cents, 50 US cents, right? US. That's 50 shillings in the local currency in Kenya. And a resident, someone who lives there, even if they're a foreigner, they will pay 100 shillings, that's $1. And for you, who will be a tourist, you'll pay about $4 to gain entry. So we do have the dual pricing, but there are other places you don't even pay for tourist prices. You all go in as one same group in my country. But over here, the difference is too high. But granted, they need to develop the parks. They need to generate money to help maintain the parks. The parks are in very good condition. But I would honestly prefer if they lower the costs. We live here, right? Even if the Thai people say pay 50 baht, at least let's pay 100 baht, not more than that.
What do you think needs to be done to stop racism in Thailand?
I think if we keep on educating each other about people from different parts of the world, that would go a long way. I know most of the news people in Asia get from Africa is when there are war, drought, famine, or all the negativity. That's when the news from Africa gets highlighted. We don't really get positive news from Africa, not Kenya, from Africa. So if that were to change, that would go a really long way. And then again, in terms of acceptance, just because I look different from you does not mean that you need to treat me differently. Asians will treat white people really highly, like gods or something, right? Then when it comes to a black person, we're looked down upon. Yet we're all not immigrants. We're all we're all visitors in this country. So you don't really need to treat someone else different because they look different, But my wife once said, maybe it's because they're used to seeing more white people than black people. It may be true, but black people really are not scary. We are teddy bears again.
Bryan, it's been a pleasure.
All mine.
This is a serious topic today, real serious.
We were smiling all through.
Yeah.
But we also need to end the interview by saying, it's not all Thai people, it's not all Asians who are racist.
Certainly.
Even in Africa, we have black people who are racist. But it's not everyone. It's always a small percentage, The majority of the people are really good. That I'll have to say, they're really good. It's just a small number of people who are not used to, maybe, how can I put this? Seeing change or trying to embrace change, that are treating people, black people, differently. But really, it's a nice place to be in.
Now, Bryan has a YouTube channel called Bangkok Musings.
Bangkok Musings.
And my nickname for Bryan is Mr. Musings. Hello, Mr. Musings. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link for your channel in the description below. Check out Bryan's channel, Bangkok Musings. You've got a good channel, nice content.
Thank you. I usually take most of the time editing the videos as compared to talking about it, so yeah.
And it's been a pleasure, Bryan. Thanks very much.
All mine, sir. Thank you.
Please subscribe to Thairish Times, hit the like button, leave us a comment. It's a heavy topic. I'm sure you have some comments on it, and leave them in the comment section. We'll discuss them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.